Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to Stormgate Central. Today I've got a pretty interesting best of 5 for you guys. So this is from the Alpha Navigators Cup. These are weekly cups that are held every single weekend by a really great guy called Adico, and I also got these VODs that he has spectated here straight from his YouTube channel, so I'm going to go ahead and link that down below. What we're watching here is the finals. So we have Theory versus Highdra. Both of these guys here have played RTS in the past. Highdra is a Protoss player. He's a pretty young guy, only 20 years old, I believe. So he's kind of up and coming, and he's definitely been dabbling in lots of RTS games. He's been playing Stormgate. I also saw him playing Zero Space, and he was one of the last players in the Winter Bash there, which was one of the tournaments up on quite a few $1,000s, I believe. He is playing as the Infernals up in the top right here, and then down in the bottom left, we have Theory, a much older guy in his 30s, and has been part of the StarCraft scene for a really long time, also a Protoss player. I believe this guy actually started playing Brood War all the way back in the day, so two very different players here, but two very, very good Stormgate players nonetheless. These guys at the moment, Theory is sat at, I believe, number 6 on the leaderboard, Highdra at around number 29, so they are both definitely up there. Now we see Theory doing something very interesting here on Broken Crown Hinterlands. He's actually gone through his trees at the expansion, and he's decided to make a conclave all the way back there at the edge of that expansion, which is strange. It looks like he's going to start creeping here straight on the speed camp, using one of his gaunts here to infest the creeps so he can get some of those early fiends, and then he's tanking all the damage with the brute. This is actually a really, really cool play. You can also see one of the map's unique features there, which are these sort of purple flowers that will slow the movement speed of your units. If you don't know about this, super, super annoying to encounter, especially when you have, you know, some huge army trying to get through there. And we have Highdra here, on the other hand, moving out and taking some of the vision camps. So both of these guys seem to have opened here with an Iron Vault and a Conclave. So fairly even. Theory does want to be careful though, because he definitely has fewer fiends and a smaller army overall, and he doesn't want to bite off more than he can chew. He's getting a little bit close there, but it looks like he's backing off. He's realized, wait, is he going to go for it? Okay, I guess they're going for it here. It does bear mentioning that you cannot infest fiends. So the gaunts have changed quite a lot in this patch of the game. If you guys have seen some of the casted games from the last build, in order to get infest on the gaunts, you had to build the Shadow Cleft, you had to upgrade an ability, which was kind of like the stim pack from StarCraft, that would take 10 health off of your gaunts, and then they will be able to infest targets for a limited time until that ability ran out. In this version of the game, the gaunts, they just get infest straight away, and they can infest targets all the time. But to counteract that, you can no longer infest enemy fiends. Otherwise, you would just sort of have a situation where the fiends and the gaunts endlessly infect the fiends from your opponent, and it would just snowball, you know, completely out of control. But this has pretty much become the standard opener these days for Infernals. They go for an Iron Vault, and they go for a Conclave. They use the Brute to tank, they use the Gaunt to infest enemy creeps, and they start building up fiends and essentially expanding their army for free. Theory did manage, of course, to hold off that attack from Highdra with the help of some reinforcements, and he's pounding a bit of damage on the Iron Vault here. This might actually go down. In fact, I think it is going to go down. The fiends are really, really good at putting damage on building. If he splits this brute as well, yeah, the Iron Vault is going to go down there, but Highdra does have some brutes coming out, reinforcing, so he is going to chase Theory away as he denies this vision camp. He's not going to get the kill on it, though, as those vision camps, they do have a lot of health, those cute little fluffy doggies there. Now it looks like Highdra is going to commit to something here. He's making his way across the map with a few brutes and fiends. He's going to have a little poke into Theory's natural here and see if he can do some damage. There are some gaunts here defending, but no brutes. So, oh, there is a Shroud Stone there. So I think Theory is going to be absolutely fine here to hold this. I think he actually just attacked his shrine with his gaunts accidentally. Good job he can't infest that. There's another Shroud Stone going down in the front there as well, so I think he is going to be just fine here. Especially if he gets some infests off here. You know, he's going to spawn those fiends, and as soon as you start to lose a little fight like that with infest as Infernals, it just ends so quickly. You can see the tide turn so fast, and you just have to hightail it out of there. So I think safe to say that Theory is definitely ahead now. Both of the players have taken the trees down here. So in this map, you've got a natural down the ramp. Then there is a second ramp with a third, but that third actually only has Luminite. It doesn't have access to the Theory. But alternatively, you can knock down the trees and get access to a second alternative third position that does have the Therium as well as the Luminite. And pretty much all of the good Infernal units, like the Hellborn, also the Magmadons, they are very heavy on the Therium. So I think that's what both players are going to be looking to do here. Theory is probably going to be taking his third very soon since he's held off that attack. But he is coming on with a drop here from the Doombringer. I guess you could call it a Doom drop. What has he got here? He's got a bunch of gaunts in there. So these are going to start to infest the worker imps. But not only the imps, but also the Fellhogs that come out of the meat farms. I believe they can also be infested, and they can indeed spawn fiends of their own, so things can snowball pretty quickly. But Highdra just dropped the Ritual Shroudstone here, which is one of the many rituals that the Infernals can invoke, and it has, I think it's got a 100% faster attack speed than the regular Shroudstones. So that's a pretty nice way to defend. But it looks like Highdra is gonna hold this off here. Not really sure how many imps he lost there. Not too many. He has 19 there on the Luminite mine, so probably 12 and then another 7 that he can rally onto the Therium. Now we see the Shadow Cleft, of course, coming in for Theory, so he is soon going to have access to those Magmadons and also the new unit, the Siege unit, the Hellborn. So more infrastructure, of course, more conclaves, more production coming down for Highdra on the other side of the map. We haven't seen a third yet, so generally speaking, the Infernals will take their third very, very quickly. That doesn't seem to be the case now. We're actually seeing a little bit more micro from the Infernal team, which is honestly really, really cool, because when I played in the previous beta, a lot of the games would just see the Infernal taking a third quickly, taking a fourth, getting out a bunch of production units or production structures, and then just cap out and just attack move into your base and you would just die. So it's really, really cool to see some of these little games going on, these nice little attacks with the Doombringers. Of course, the Doombringer, when it lands, it also supplies some shroud there to keep the health, the white health of the units topped off. This attack is not going to do anything, though, because the defense there is just too good by Theory. Those Shroud Stones are really... they should not be underestimated, man. They are incredibly powerful. But it does look like Highdra is going to find a nice angle on Theory's vault here, so he's going to return the favor just like he did. In fact, these guys have pretty much been mirroring each other's builds here, but we see Theory now dropping into the natural, and he has a Magmadon there, so that is, I think, the first Magmadon on the field here. These guys have splash damage, front conal damage, I should say, and they also have a sort of stomp ability where they kind of trample trees down. They also trample over their opponents, and if you get the upgrade for them, they periodically stun the opponents. So there you can see it going off now, the trample. It doesn't seem that it has the stun, so it is doing damage nonetheless though, so you definitely want to steer clear of that. Is he going to be able to mop this up with the 4 gaunts there, with the help of the Shroudstone? I think he is, as we also see a counter drop from Highdra in Theory's main there. You can see just how many workers these guys are putting on Therium. That is one of the major differences in the resource gathering in Stormgate, is that with the Vanguard, they have these special structures called scrapyards that they can place right down next to the Therium. So it's sort of irrelevant where you place your command post or your central command as the Vanguard, because you can build these scrapyards wherever you want, and they act as like a drop-off for the Bob workers. But for the Infernals, you have to drop off the Therium at the shrines. So unless you want to have to, you can either build like an additional shrine right next to the Therium just to serve the purpose of a drop-off point and maybe a production facility for more imps, or you can just put more imps on the Therium to increase that gather rate. And sometimes you'll see people putting as many as like 10, even 15 imps on there. Of course, the Therium, it does regenerate by itself, and it regenerates much faster if it's actually left alone. Kind of like Tiberium there in Command & Conquer. Another drop from Highdra coming into the natural. It's not going to do much, but we do see a pretty big drop coming into the main here from theory, this is going to do way more damage because most of Hydra's army is actually out on the map here. He's going to have to walk back home to defend. Is he actually going to be able to take out anything of significance here? Now we've got a Magmadon coming in to save the day, so I think he's actually going to be fine. But I think he may have gotten a bunch of imps there. I don't think we caught the start of that attack, but I don't see any imps. So unless he ran them out of the base, then he could have lost a bunch of imps. But again, you know, the Infernals, they don't really have that much of a problem maxing out on imps again because, again, they have this charge system where they can basically just build units as and when they need them instead of having to macro constantly like the Vanguard and like we've seen in StarCraft. So a lot of production facilities coming out here, and a third finally going up for theory. Just as I thought, that is definitely a third that these players are looking to want to take here with the Therium there so that they can get the maximum of both of the resources. I actually think in hindsight, the reason that they both built their production facilities on that side of the map is so that they could go for that speed camp at the beginning of the game, purely because it has the most amount of creeps on there and you can get the most amount of fiends from it. But another drop coming from Highdra here in the main of theory, and he's going to be getting that Therium. And I have to say, guys, saying Therium in theory is confusing the hell out of me, but nevertheless, he has managed to protect and survive against this one. So good job to him here. We haven't really seen any, like, there hasn't been any major altering battle in this game yet. It's been little trade-offs, you know, drops here and there from each team, a poke in each other's base here and there, you know, a building snipe, but nothing really major has happened, so I honestly can't give that much of an advantage. I definitely say theory has the advantage here, but it's nothing major. Hydra's doing a really nice job here with these drops, trying to sort of take the attention away from himself and probably stop Theory going for a push, because we just noted that there were a good number of Magmadons at the front of Theory's base, and he does look like he's gearing up with a nicely sized army here, and he's going to go for some sort of a push. We saw him throw down all of the production, that is certainly how the Infernals, that's how they seem to macro. They throw down a bunch of production, and then all of a sudden, a huge army just bursts forth, and they just walk across the map and absolutely trounce you. It really can be insane. It's kind of similar to Zerg from StarCraft in that regard, how you can just inject a bunch of lava, all of a sudden you've got lava sitting there, and then you just make a ton of units and off you go. But he's not making a move yet. He is going to walk around the map and take a few more creep camps. Both of the players here are being extremely careful to stick to their bases, and I think that's due to the fact they want to be fighting on the Shroud. They don't want to take fights off of the Shroud because that white health will not regenerate, so whoever is fighting on their Shroud is obviously going to have the defender's advantage there. But we haven't really seen them going out too much in the middle of the map and wrestling for control of those central resource camps. He does scout the third now of Highdra, so he knows that exists. He comes in at the perfect time here with these fiends, in fact, and manages to snipe off both of those Shroud Stones. And look at this, he's drawing the attention of Highdra with the entire army over to the third, and now he's going to go straight into the natural from the front with an attack. And this is one of the big setbacks of the Infernal army. It is just so slow, so it is going to take Highdra a long time to react. I am wondering what he's doing with the Shadow Flayers there. Maybe he's bringing them in just to tank the shots of the Shroud Stones, or is he looking for enemy Spriggans? I haven't seen a single Spriggan out of Highdra, so I'm not sure why he's built those yet. But what is Highdra doing? He's not even reacting to this. He's just sat there with his army, and Theory is just absolutely decimating the natural here. I am not sure what happened to him, but I don't know. Did he just sack that base there, or? Okay, I'm confused. Did he just want to let him have that base? I mean, all of his production has just gone down, man. So if that was some sort of a strategic move from Highdra there to hold on to what little armies have, I don't think it's going to make a difference here. He is very much outclassed by Theory's army at the moment. So I think this has got to be GG, man. I don't think there's any coming back from this for Mr. Highdra. And GG it is indeed. Oh, he says, I got like 0 frames. It seems he got a massive lag spike. That is indeed a shame for Highdra. Well, a bit of an anticlimactic end to that game there. But we are going to move on to game 2. Nevertheless here, guys, and once again, we have Theory spawning down in the bottom left as the blue Infernal, and in the top right, we have Mr. Highdra. Hopefully, he's not going to get as many stutters and lags on his system as last game, and he's also playing, of course, as the Infernals. This time, we see the Conclave and the Vault for Theory going down at the natural. We are on a different map, of course, now. We are playing on Secluded Grove. I have had a decent amount of time on this map. This was actually the main ladder map in the last beta test. This is one of the newer maps for the game, and it's a very good macro map. There are a lot of expansions. You've also got that central expansion there that you guys can probably spy on the map. It is surrounded by trees, so if you can manage to get through there with an imp, for example, or a magmadon, take down the trees and take that expansion, you have access to 2 luminite mines and also 2 patches of therium. Yeah, it seems that Highdra is having some issues with lag there. I have to say, one of the things I do think needs to be improved upon in Stormgate is the performance, because a lot of the time, once you get that maxed out army as the Infernals, and for me, I'm a Vanguard player at the moment, so if I've got like a 200 supply Vanguard army, a lot of the time that there is an engagement, my FPS drops down to 30, and it's usually around 100 or 110. I've got a pretty good PC, so yeah, that it kind of a lot of the time feels like you can't really micro at all. But I digress. Here is Theory, and he's going for the exact same tactic here. I'm going to definitely use this when I play as the Infernals, because apparently this seems to be the key, is just going to whichever creep camp has the most amount of units, and we see Highdra doing exactly the same thing here, infesting them all with the Gaunt, and then killing them, which basically gives you 5 units absolutely free. I have to say, I do feel like the Infernals, they saw a lot of buffs in this beta patch here, and I do think they may be a little bit too good. I'm sure, of course, it's still a beta. I'm not going to complain about balance at this point, but I certainly hope that Frost Giant are looking into it, because if you actually go and look at the leaderboards currently, out of the top 20 players on the leaderboard, 15 of them are playing as the Infernals. So, you know, statistics don't lie. There was also a pretty big change in the patch notes to the Brutes. So previously, you had to choose between risking your Brute dying, and if it died to enemy damage, you wouldn't get any Fiends. And if you split it manually yourself, you would actually get the Fiends. But now, it doesn't matter. If you split it manually or your Brute dies, you get the Fiends either way. So a lot of players kind of reacted a little bit negatively towards that. It is definitely taking some of the macro out of the game, but I think they felt like, you know, if one player got the Fiends and the other player didn't split and didn't get the Fiends, it would be too much of a swing mechanic there. It would just be, you know, too much to give one Infernal player the advantage. But Theory is going right across the map here, and he's just going to go and take down the Iron Vault for Highdra, as Hydra's expansion is coming up. Highdra now coming down from his newly farmed creep camp full of Fiends, and I think he is going to manage to sweep up and mop up the army of Theory here. So, you know, he did lose the Iron Vault there, and of course the Imp that went into making it, but Theory's also lost quite a few units himself. So, probably give a little advantage to Theory there, but nothing too crazy. That's also a really nice move, as we see he's made a meat farm, which is the supply building, of course, for the Infernals, right next to the speed camp. So what you can actually do with that is pull the speed camp, and then the Fell Hogs from the meat farm will actually give you a bit of an assist there, even though they are, of course, AI controlled, and they'll come in and help you out. So a Shroud Stone here going up, a couple of Shroud Stones it seems to be, in the Natural of Theory. Always a good investment, those Shroud Stones, of course. Not only do they act as a defensive structure, not only do they spread Shroud, but they are also the building that you need to cast all of your rituals, so you've got to make sure you have some Shroud Stones. He is giving chase to Hydra's army here, infecting his units as they go, and Highdra turns around here. I think this is going to be in Theory's favor. Oh wait, maybe not here. Some really nice targeting down on the Gaunts, and it looks like Highdra has just come out on top here with more Fiends, and he has mopped up the army, so he's not going to be able to break into the Natural here by any means with those Shroud Stones up, but I think he could definitely go ahead and maybe take a faster third, for example, if things start to snowball out of control. So Highdra, he's got a lot of work ahead of him, but this is a best of 5, so plenty of opportunities for him to regain his honor, so to speak here, and take a few games off of Theory. So we see Theory with 3 workers on the Therium there, probably just enough to sustain the Gaunt production. I believe they cost around 15 Therium for 1, but definitely not enough if you want to start massing up Magmadons or the Hellbound, which is the siege unit. So just as predicted here, I think Highdra does fancy himself a little bit ahead now because of him taking down the army of Theory, and he is taking that slightly earlier third. Question is Theory going to scout that out and find that early enough? Because that is pretty open to exploitation at the moment. It can be taken down. He is going to the bottom speed camp here and grabbing a bunch of fiends off of those camps. Is he going to go now up to the west and take another 5 fiends over there and then do an attack on the third of Highdra? I think that may be the point here. This is really good play. There are also a ton of creep camps on this map. You will notice though that they are all situated more around the sides of the map. So, you know, if you go for these creep camps and then there's an attack happening in the middle or there's an attack happening in your base, it is a very, very long distance that your slow Infernal army, I might add, has to travel. So both players here bringing out the Doombringers. Hydra's loaded up and he's ready to go, man. Is this going to get scouted? I think we do see a Fiend just there. I think he saw that. I think he saw that for sure. Maybe he didn't spot it quite on the minimap, though. It depends what he was doing at the time, but Theory also has a Doombringer of his own. Where is he heading, though, with this? I guess it's probably almost definitely got it seen now. Maybe not. Maybe he just managed to avoid there, and he's going to go drop in the natural here. But as I said before, the natural does have 2 Shroud Stones, but there is a Shadow Clef coming up there. But no, Theory knows about this. He's all over it. He has the Gaunts at the ready, and now he's coming back with his main army. And he has also swept up that speed camp, so he's just added even more fiends. So Highdra just going to chill and hang out with the Doombringer there over the west, as it looks like there was a Doombringer drop of Theories here into the main. He is targeting, I think, the Shadow Clef there. If you can take that Shadow Clef down, that is actually a really big drawback to the Infernals, because unlike the Vanguard, who can power build their buildings and get something out very, very quickly, one of the drawbacks to the Infernals is that they can't do that. The only way they can build a building is sacrificing an imp, and that building just has to run its time. You know, it will take a long time, and there's nothing really you can do about that. So if you snipe off an integral production building like that, it can have a very big difference. Some very nice Shroud Stone placement here for Theory in the main as well, covering all of his workers, both on the Therium and the Luminite, is going to shut down that attack from that single Magmadon there. And the Doombringer is still hovering. Theory is now moving out, looking to take his third. But Hydra's third is quite a long way in front of Theory. So if Theory doesn't do something about this soon and move out and make some damage happen, I think he could end up taking this game here and just end up with a massive economical lead. And he's now going in and pestering the imps on the Therium once again, but it's too much here. I do wonder why some of the players don't actually get out 2 Doombringers at a time. I feel like dropping twice as many Gaunts would do so much more damage to the worker line there if you can actually get them in. But hey, what do I know? I'm not a rank 6 Infernal player in the beta, so I'm going to leave it to these guys to decide what is best. So Theory, good map control here. He's moving out. He looks like he's going to actually take this second vision camp away from Highdra, which is really big. The vision camps on this map are incredibly important there because you can attack around either side of those cliffs. You can go around the left side into the third, or on the right side into the natural, and if you don't have that vision camp, you really have no idea what the enemy army is doing. So Theory there, going to snag that one. We haven't seen any Hellborn yet. I'm kind of surprised about that. But we may see some of those yet. Another unit that hasn't really come out for either side here are the Spriggans. The Spriggans, especially if you end up going up against some sort of a composition that is very heavy with Magmadons and Brutes, the Spriggans can be very, very good. Oftentimes, not a unit that your enemy is going to be expecting, but I think both teams have enough Gaunts that Spriggans really aren't going to be able to do too much. So Highdra, we can see here, now he doesn't have the vision camp. He is marching back and forth there, patrolling between his natural and his main. He feels the impending danger of Theory's attack. And Theory has now gotten his third up and running, and we also saw that the Shadow Cleft is researching, and I can only assume that it is researching the Magmadon upgrade so that he can go on in and trample all of those gaunts of Hydras and stun them up as he does so. There is another upgrade you can get from there for the brutes though, and I believe that it actually makes you spawn 3 fiends from a brute, either when you split it or when it dies, as opposed to the regular 2. You will have to excuse me guys if my knowledge of the upgrades isn't 100% yet. I have been playing in the beta and the alpha tests since around October or November last year, but every single time there's a beta test, they change a bunch of stuff in the game. The game is still, let's remember, under heavy development, so a lot of things are going to change yet. Theory now chasing Hydra's gaunts here, and he kind of got caught out of position. You really don't want your gaunts to be left alone without the backup of Magmadons and Brutes, because they are very lightly armored and they die super easily. But Highdra is going to come around from the 3rd position, and he is going to defend this. He's trapped one of Theory's Magmadons there, so that is going to get taken down, but Theory still has another couple at the bottom. But nothing in comparison to Hydra's army. How many is that? 1, 2, I think he has 6 Magmadons there, and he is giving chase now. He sees that Theory only has 2 Magmadons, and he has the advantage. He knows he can just run straight in there, and as long as he staggers the casts of those tramples from the Magmadons, he is absolutely going to stamp all over Theory's army. Theory's now managed to get out another couple, but oh my god, he's 8, there's 10 Magmadons here for Highdra. This is looking very bad for Theory. Theory, of course, does have the defender's advantage here, and they are both going for it, and now you can see the trample coming in there with the periodic stun. All of these units are barely able to get a attack off here. There is just so much trampling going on, and it looks like Highdra is absolutely going to decimate the base of Theory here. The army is all but dead. There is 1, 2, 3 Magmadons left for Theory, and there's a bunch of gaunts coming in to defend. But oh, wait a minute, the Flayed Dragon comes out for Theory at the last second here. If he can manage to actually take down all of the gaunts and get rid of the ranged attackers, he may be able to survive this, and it looks like Highdra is maybe gonna hightail it out of there and retreat, and Theory could well live to see another day. Now, that being said, I think Highdra is easily going to be able to come back here. All he needs to do now is build a bunch of Shadow Flyers that he will kamikaze into the Flayed Dragon, and it really shouldn't be too hard for him to take this down. If we take a look at the map here, oh, there we go. Theory has taken that center expansion that I was talking about there, going for the big money. But Highdra is on 4 bases already. He has the expansion with the Therium and the Luminate down to the south. But Theory now seems to also be marching across the map with a bunch of Fiends and Magmadons of his own. And of course that all-important Flayed Dragon, which is kind of like the ultimate unit for the Infernal. I think it takes 450 Animus, something like that, 400, 500 Animus to summon it. So you definitely have to lose a lot of units, and it can only come out some point in the late game. And Theory's going to come in here trying to snipe out the Shroud Stones, but a massive Infest is going to go down on the Fiends. Of course, Fiends cannot spawn Fiends from Infests, but they still take damage from it. He's showing little interest actually sniping down the Shrine there. I figured that that's what most Infernal players seem to do. You know, with the Fiends, they want to snipe those Shrines. Okay, here we go. He goes onto the Shrine now. Is Highdra going to come and defend this in time? I don't think he is. The Fiends, they just do so much DPS to buildings. So even if Theory loses those Fiends there, I think it's going to be a trade definitely worthwhile. And he's just coming in now to pressure the 3rd at the perfect timing again as Highdra starts throwing down Shroud Stones, but it's too late. I think actually Theory is going to be able to do this. I don't know what has happened to Hydra's economy here. Like, he hasn't been able to max up his army again or really get any units to speak of out. He does have the Flayed Dragon, but then again, so does Theory, and Theory's has all of the white health because it's been alive for so long and it's recharged for so long. There are some Gaunts and some Brutes here to the south, But I don't think it's going to be enough. And here come the Shadow Flyers, but from theory, this is exactly what Highdra needed to do. He needed to get those Shadow Flyers out there and attack the enemy Flayed Dragon. And with those Shadow... There we go, one of them, two of them hitting the Flayed Dragon. We can't quite see its health there, but yeah, it's definitely very low there. GG is called by Highdra, and Theory is going to take game number 2. As we move on to game number 3 here, let's see if Highdra can manage to pull this one back again. Oh, okay, so we're on Jagged Moor this time. So this is actually one of the more interesting maps in Stormgate at the moment. And hopefully, if you guys are playing during the next fest, you're going to get to try this map out. So the map kind of has this this horseshoe shape. It's kind of like a horseshoe or a U shape on the side. So the blue player here, Theory, is going to have to walk all the way along the bottom of the map, up the left side, and then back to the right along the top to get into Hydra's base. Alternatively, there are also some destructible rocks in the middle that you can destroy with a worker or with, for example, a magmadon, just like with the trees. But then there are also, where you see those little red arrows in the middle of the map, 2 siege camps that you can take control of. And that will actually give you a siege unit called the Catapult that will basically make a beeline for the enemy base and start laying waste to it. So Theory, again, gonna go for the Conclave and the Iron Vault. That certainly does seem to be the only opening for Infernal players these days. Not just from watching these two guys here, but every single Infernal player that I play against, that just seems to be the go-to. I don't know. I was kind of hoping we'd see some different games here, maybe some like Shrine first, super economic builds and some one base attacks and stuff like that. But let's see how this game plans out here. So again, utilizing the meat farm on the resource camp, this map here does have one of those speed camps all the way on the far left, but there is only one single speed camp, so they would actually have to contest each other to get control of that. Highdra moving out here himself and taking his resource camp. Let's see who is going to make it to the speed camp. This is actually kind of interesting. I'm not sure how this is going to go. Theory's Fiend gets there just before, and this is going to be a battle for the creeps here. This could also be very dangerous, because if you pull those creeps and they start attacking you, and then Highdra moves in and starts attacking Theory's units as well, then that's really going to put Theory in a difficult spot, especially if he gets that Infestum on him, which of course does damage over time. So he is hiding in the grass there. He's going to move out, hits the Gaunt there with the Infest first of all. Oh, gets a really nice hit with the Brute there. Take it, he's got, this is terrible for Theory. Highdra has done exactly what he wanted to do there. Not only has he killed the army of Theory, but he's also now going to be able to utilize and take that speed camp for himself. Or, you know, yeah, just chase Theory's Brute. That also makes sense. You can also do that. Now, this could be looking bad for Theory if Highdra continues to funnel units across the map and back this army up here. He could potentially just roll straight over Theory, but looks like he's thought better of it here. He's going to go, he is going to infest all of these speed camps and get those extra fiends there. Theory sees this, so I think he knows what Highdra is up to. I think he knows there's an attack coming. Of course, not only does he get the fiends, but you also get the speed camp buff, which you can just see the difference in the army movement speed here. He's going to run straight over to Theory's army. I don't really know why Theory is moving out and continuing, and GG is called already from Theory. Like, I have no idea why he moved out and contested Hydra's army there when he knew that he had a way better army, but I digress. As we move into game number 4. So this is definitely one of my lesser played maps. This one is called Titan's Causeway. And once again we have Theory down in the bottom left here, and Highdra spawning up in the top right. Theory throwing down his Iron Vault there, and what looks like a Conclave as well, I believe. And that third imp is surely going to be for a meat farm, just like we've seen him doing every single game. And once again for Highdra here, the Conclave and the Iron Vault, but this time safe and snug inside of his main base. There goes the meat farm. So both of these players here putting one worker on the Therium there, which if you see that, if you scout the enemy's base and they're Infernal and they have the one worker, that is basically just to support the Gaunt production, because Gaunts, they only take 15 Therium to build one. So as long as you put a worker straight away on Therium there, you're going to have enough Therium to get one Gaunt right off the bat. And that's exactly what we see from Highdra, and that's also what we see here from Therium. So he's probably going to now just wait for the Brute to come out, wait for one of his Fellhogs to come out of the meat farm, and then snag the speed camp here, and try his best to tank these all down and get a bunch of Fiends from there. Interesting to see how these players go differently about it. Highdra here is basically just kiting the speed camp in the north with his Gaunt over to his Brute. I guess he's going to have the Brute just tank all of the damage, whereas, you know, Theory, he's definitely doing a good job here, making use of that meat form. I have a sneaky suspicion that when Highdra goes and looks back at these replays, he's going to be like, wait a second, you use the meat farm to tank the speed camp? That's a good idea, I'm going to do that too. That's exactly what I'll be doing as well whenever I start playing Infernal, although at the moment I'm much more of a Vanguard player. Guys, by the way, if you do enjoy these casts here on the channel, do let me know in the comments down below. It's always nice to hear from you guys what kind of content you do prefer here on the channel. And of course, hit that subscribe button. That is always a massive support to the channel, and it really does help out with the algorithm. So thank you guys as always so much for the support. You can expect to see a lot more Stormgate content from me here on the channel. Not just casts, but, you know, we'll also be covering all of the news about the game. And I'll be doing my best to give you guys some tips and tricks and some guides for not just the Vanguard, but the Infernals as well. So some Fiends from Highdra here kind of wandered off in the wrong direction. I'm not really sure what he's trying to snipe. Maybe he's just scouting with them, but they are probably going to die here if he doesn't move them back quickly, as he's already started to lose a couple. And Theory here is actually building up quite a formidable force. He has taken more creep camps than Highdra, I believe, at this point. So he probably has more Fiends than Highdra does. And as you guys can see on the map, Highdra has a shrine coming up in his natural. And Theory does not. So I'm not sure if Theory knows about this shrine, but that shrine is almost done, which means it was put down quite some time ago. And the fact that Theory hasn't put down a shrine himself here kind of suggests that he's going to go for some kind of an attack. And indeed, we can see him marching north straight into that speed camp. And it's not because there are any speed camp creeps there to kill. It's because he wants the speed buff. So I think he's just going to wait here for a couple more units. And he looks like he's going for it here. There is only a single Shroud Stone that is not even fully produced yet, protecting the ramp and the main, and that Shroud Stone is not going to do anything. It's going to go down or probably get cancelled. It got cancelled there by Highdra. The army here of Highdra is not going to be enough to hold this. He's going to have to get back and do... There is no Shroud Stone in the main either, and I think this is going to be lights out for Highdra here. Unfortunately, all of the gaunts are going down here. The infests are going off, and things are snowballing out of control. And if he gets infests on some of those workers and gets even more Fiends, that is not going to be great. Strangely, actually, he's backpedaling out of the main now. I guess he figures he would rather go for the natural there. I mean, I would have gone for the main personally because there's no Shroud Stone there. But I don't think he's going to have any trouble here whatsoever taking the natural. The Shroud Stones go down. The last remaining gaunts are going to go down as well here from Highdra. And I think this is unfortunately going to be the end. He does warp in one of those Shroud Stones there from the ritual, but that's also going to instantly get him taken down. And GG, well played from Highdra. He is going to take the Alpha's Navigator Cup final here, 3-1 against Highdra. So well done to Theory. Hope you guys enjoyed this cast as much as I did casting it. As I said, guys, leave me all of your thoughts down below and check out this playlist here if you're looking for tips and tricks on Stormgate. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.